Hello and good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all those people who have joined. My name is Manish and I'll be your host today. Uh, Thank you so much for an overwhelming response, extremely overwhelming. Thank you very much for joining this session. Um, let's give ourselves another a minute or so and let's wait for everyone to join. While we wait for everyone to join, just a few housekeeping options. Just wanted to know whether you are able to hear me clear. You can confirm that by raising the hand icon, by pressing the hand icon. Thank you, Edward, Hamid Ahmed, Jack. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Yes. So let's give ourselves another minute or so. The other thing I wanted to say, let's try and make this session as interactive as we possibly can. You can interrupt me in between. I'll try and answer as many questions as I can. And this session obviously has been recorded. So just in case you need to refer to this, you would be able to refer it later. If you want to ask a question, you raise the hand icon and I will either answer the question or should there be need, I will unmute your line and you would be in a position to ask the question. All right. So let's, as I said, another minute or so. This is overwhelming. Very nice. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much for joining. I think we are going to test the limit of GoToWebinar. So I have Sir Daphne, Lady Daphne, Carol, Ahmad, Edward, a lot of people whom I know here. Thank you so much. All right, so I think we should get started. I won't take a lot of your time. As I said, I'll try and answer as many questions as I possibly can. So thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much for joining in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all those people who have joined from different parts of the world. My name is Manish and I'll be your host today. So we're going to talk about what is iVend Cloud. That's where we're going to start. We will talk about the experience of iVend Cloud. How does it actually feel? What is so different about it? We'll obviously touch upon the issues of why iVend Cloud, and given the fact that the entire application is now available over the cloud, we will also talk about what else does a customer retailer will get in addition to the application. We talk about application and infrastructure management. We talk about support 365. We talk about the different deployment options. Very interesting topic here. And I'll try and close the session by opening the forum for discussions. And I will also talk about what are the changes in the application, if at all there are any changes in the application. So that's the kind of agenda. I have budgeted myself about 45 minutes for the webinar as such, and the last at least 15-20 minutes to half an hour is what I would devote for any question and answers. You could always ask in between should there be need. Excuse me for a very sore throat that I have, but still, let's get started. So what is iVend Cloud? iVend Cloud is the cloud version of iVend Retail, which is an enterprise class retail management system addressing the omni-channel aspirations of mid to large size retailers. The entire application is now made available on the cloud, which means, and it'll become more and more clear as we move along, the entire iVend Enterprise, as we had known, is now available on the cloud. We have partnered with Microsoft, and the entire application is made available to all of us through the Azure platform. As I said, I will touch upon application management. A complete infrastructure management is what the application brings along with it. Application management would include things like, optimization of performance, managing the integration queues in case the application, excuse me, is integrated to an ERP, will ensure 99% uptime. The same is true for infrastructure management. And as I said, I'll explain this as we move along. Uh, Support 365, which is available for all our on-premise customers, is included in iVend Cloud. The standard Support 365 standard offering, and I'll explain that in this session, is what is available. Support 365 standard as a part of iVend Cloud offering. And the other interesting thing that we have done is that the licensing is now far more simpler than what it used to be earlier. Not that the earlier one was complex, it's just that it is far more simple now. Uh, the entire application is now licensed for the point of sale terminals and the cloud users that you have. There is no should I say price component for the store that we used to have earlier. But more on that as we move along. More importantly, it's the experience. It's all about the experience. You get iVend Retail pre-commissioned when you start the and you get started by when you receive an email which has your licensing credentials. You get an email that these are your licensing credentials. If you crane your neck into the screen, it talks about the store licenses, the point of sale licenses, and all that you have licensed. All you need to do is press this button and it opens a pre-commissioned iVend Retail for you. You log in using a particular user, let's say Manish. Once you do this, this is the super admin account for the retailer. And once you do that, the application will be available. The entire management console, iVend Enterprise as it is known, would be available to you to get started. It's all about convenience, and it's all about business continuity. It's all about how easy we have made the entire application to the retailers to get started. So the entire hassle of managing operating system licenses, SQL licenses, collation, this, that, and the other is all out of the window. You get started when you get the email, you log in and you get started. Log in. I see there is a question somewhere in between. This obviously is a should I say pre-configured solution which has the head office and 2 different stores. So I will just log into the enterprise for now, and we will see the entire application in its full glory. I have a question here. Let me see. So the question is, can iVend Cloud be hosted locally in country-specific region? We're using the cloud. We're using the Azure infrastructure, and we are careful of the rules and the regulations that specifically the European Commission has, that the data center has to be in Europe for customers in Europe. So short answer, yes, but the retailer does not get the option to decide which country it will be hosted. It is more driven by the statute of the region as to where exactly it has to be hosted. Conditions pretty much the way they are in the European Union. So there you are. It's simple as that. You just log in, and you have the entire iVend Enterprise commission for you. All you now need to do is start creating your stores, your point of sale. You start creating your security users, and the first thing that the place where you would go is see your license entitlement. So you go here, IT administration, license information. It tells you exactly what is mentioned in the email. It'll tell you what are the kind of store licenses, point of sale licenses, management console users, etc. that you have licensed for. This is what your license entitlement is, and this is your entitlement balance. As you see, there are 6 which are still left. That means I have consumed, as again part of my demo setup, I've consumed 5 different users here. But the moment you create another user, this entitlement balance obviously will change, and you would be able to, just, it's, as I said, it's all about convenience. It's all about be allowing you the flexibility of how do you want to manage your infrastructure. And as I said, as you move along, it'll become more and more clear as to what the application has to offer in terms of the application management, infrastructure management, standard support 365, what are the kind of reports and dashboards which are generated for the benefit of the retailers. The whole idea is to make it horribly simple to use. As I said, you just log in and you get started the way I just showed you as an example. I'll take a small little pause here and see if I have any questions here. So Ben Howe wants to know that for Asia Pacific region, where would iVend be hosted in the cloud? In Singapore, I suppose. Yes. Short answer is, if it is mandated by Singapore as a country and a government that all cloud installations in Singapore have to be in Singapore, yes, it will be hosted that way. So we offer that level of flexibility as to determine where exactly would it be hosted. Any other questions? As I said, you may please press the hand icon button, and I would or you could just press the questions pane button and I would be able to answer the question. All right. So that's as far as the experience is concerned, as to how convenient it has been made. To address the question of why iVend Cloud, the whole idea is that to allow the retailer to focus on the business goals and the business growth. What we're trying to say is, and this is no different than any other cloud benefits, that by deploying iVend Cloud, the retailer gains the freedom to focus on growing the business, and we do that by allowing, or rather delivering, a complete infrastructure and application management for the enterprise. So not only do you license the application, as in the stores and the point of sales and so on and so forth, what you also get along with it is absolute and complete application and infrastructure management, which, as I said, I will explain in my subsequent slides. So the other thing which is very important from a cloud standpoint, and especially iVend Cloud standpoint, is that there is no upfront hardware investment. Pretty much like any other cloud application, you don't have to invest in servers and SQL servers and should I say operating systems and their licenses and their renewals and so on and so forth. There is absolutely no need for any kind of hardware investment or the operating systems. There are hardly any ongoing cost, and there is certainly no maintenance. The entire maintenance, because the application is hosted on the cloud, the entire maintenance is done as a part of the application and infrastructure management, which comes along with the cloud. Obviously, by deploying a cloud solution and being on cloud, iVend Retail gives you flexible deployment options, faster implementation. So think about it, the whole hassle and the trouble of installing a SQL server, ensuring that the collation is correct, then installing iVend Retail, ensuring that the version, the patches are correct, all that is taken away. All that bit is gone. You get pre-commissioned iVend Enterprise. All you need to do is define your enterprise, define your retail policies, define your stores, define your point of sales, and start selling. It's simple as that. The other important thing from a cloud standpoint for iVend Cloud is the not only the faster implementation, but also the ability to scale up and scale down very effectively. What that essentially means is that should the infrastructure management observe that the CPU usage is very high, or a certain set of queries are taking a lot of time, or because of the festive season, the traffic is very high and the transactions are increasing. So rather than waiting for anything else, the infrastructure team automatically scales up the hardware for you. So you don't, as a retailer, the business continuity is maintained and you do not get any kind of no effect as far as the slowness of the application is concerned. Okay. You obviously, the cloud benefit gives, one of the benefits is the plan for operational scaling, as I just mentioned. So you can scale up or scale down the entire application that much more easily, which is done by the infrastructure team and not by anyone else. A question from Raul. Would iVend mobile POS would still be working along with terminal point of sale as usual? Absolutely, yes. So this, I will cover this in more detail when we go to the what has changed in the application section. But the mobile point of sale remains exactly the same. And the terminal point of sale also remains the same. I will also cover this as a part of the deployment options. Okay, let's keep going. So you'll excuse me for a back and forth, because I'm also trying to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So the topic of application application management, sorry. The whole idea of application management is, as the name specifies, to manage the application. And there are two parts to this. One is the application as in the software itself. And the other part of this is the second slide that I'll talk about, which is the infrastructure management. So there are two separate parts. Both of them go hand in hand, two sides of the coin. When we talk about application management, we talk about predominantly managing the operations and the day-to-day maintenance of the application, the versions and the upgrades, optimization of performances, deployment of patches, making level 1, 2, and 3 support available, making the environment available 99% of at uptime. And what also means is, by doing so, the entire, should I say, data integrity and referential integrity of the databases are adequately maintained. In simple terms, for a retailer, and because all of us have had enough and more iVend experience, in simple terms, what this also means is that not only am I going to manage the entire application queue across the entire environment, I'm also going to manage the integration of iVend retail data into any standard ERP integrations that we have. We have like total number of integrations, about 5-7 of them. So let's say an SAP Business One integration, or a Sage 300, or Business Central, and so on and so forth. The application management includes management of such replication and integration queues. A small example of should I say, application management is the replication dashboard. So all those who have been following iVend Retail closely would now have known that the entire application has been developed ground up. It's a completely different engine. It's all web-based. It allows the enterprise to have the view of the stores. It allows the stores to have the view of the point of sales. You could search a particular transaction. You can see the application logs. It shows very clearly in a nice graphical manner the connectivity, the size of the database, what transaction is going, the amount of data that has gone from the enterprise to the stores, whether it has been sent, whether it has been received or applied or not. And I'll show you an example of the replication dashboard, the live replication dashboard in a while, and also for the tenant that we have just created. I think there is a question here. Let me just take a small little pause. Lady Daphne wants to know, is this a responsive design, meaning customer can access through its phone, iPhone? Well, we're using a completely different web-based rendering technology. So it is not a typical mobile-based kind of mobile-enabled kind of user interface. The idea is to make it available to be accessible for any device. You certainly can access from a mobile device. It's just that experience would be far better that if you were to do it from a machine connected to the internet. Then Wen Hao wants to know, during seasonal periods, retailers would want to scale up to prepare for high transaction volume. Does iVend scale up automatically, or retailers have to request to the infrastructure team? It's a very pertinent question. Thank you so much for asking. No, you don't have to do that. Excuse me. The infrastructure team will automatically scale it up for you. They constantly monitor as to what is the health, and I'll show you one of the dashboards. They constantly monitor the performance of the application and should they realize that the CPU usage is very high, or the logs are getting full, or whatever the parameters are, they will automatically scale it for you. And should they realize the CPU utilization is coming down, they will automatically scale it down. Short answer, no, you don't have to. The retailers don't have to make a request. Okay, so that much was for the application management. Let's talk about what's included in infrastructure management. So as I said, and as the name specifies, infrastructure management has to do more with the management of the infrastructure per se. So for example, the monitoring of parameters like CPU usage, memory usage, hard disk usage, ensuring that a daily backup is taken on a 7-day rolling backup, ensuring that the system is well protected in terms of antiviruses. Another very important thing that infrastructure management team would do is to monitor those queries of the application which are running very slow. So if there is something which is slowing the system down, they would be the first ones to get to know much before even you get to see the symptom of a slow running query or slow performing query, and they would automatically go in and modify and change it. The other thing, and to answer the question, and rather this is the answer to the question that Ben Howe just asked, that it is part of the infrastructure management team to ensure to make cloud clustering available for high availability configurations, so that there is no lag, or nothing gets slowed down during peak seasons. To give you an idea in terms of a graphical representation of what all would be monitored. So this is one such example, and this is a part of the many reports that will be made available to the customer as a part of the monitoring. So this one, for example, talks about the disk space, that this read-write speed, CPU utilization, bandwidth utilization. You see the CPU utilization here, the disk space, and so on and so forth. So we constantly keep monitoring. There are hundreds of such parameters which are monitored on a regular basis to ensure that the application is that much more optimal. This one, for example, is the database optimization report, where on a periodic basis defragmentation, reindexing, etc. is done. So if you see it closely, if you crane your neck into the screen, it very clearly talks about the different table names, what is the purging frequency, whether it has been done or not done, and so on and so forth. So this ensures that this one of the as I said, one of the many reports, this will ensure that at any point in time, the application which is available to you is managed appropriately, and it is giving you the optimal response as in terms of the response of the application, uptime, upkeep, etc. So let me take another question that I have. Daphne wants to know, is the presentation and recording would be available? Yes, it will be available. Would it be available today is the question. In all likelihood, yes, but certainly tomorrow morning it will be available for you. So that's as far as the infrastructure management is concerned. We talked about DB optimization report. Then I also want to touch upon Support 365. Okay, Support 365 is an offering that we have for all of our customers, whether on cloud or on premise. Okay, it has two flavors to it: the standard and the premium. The 365 Support 365 standard offering is available by default in the cloud, in the cloud offering. So apart from the fact that you get to know all the release notes and access to the service portal, etc., in Support standard, you will have the resolution to level 1, 2, and 3 supports. You will have maintenance of high availability environment. I think the system monitoring would be done. Review calls would be available on a monthly basis. Support hours will be 365 24/7 by 365. The response times are far more improved, 60 minutes, 120 minutes, 4 hour and 4 hour, depending upon the criticality. So this bit comes to you along with support 365 standard comes along with iVend cloud offering. So if you look at it slightly holistically, not only are we giving you the convenience of using the application, what we're also giving you is a very comprehensive application maintenance, application management, infrastructure management, and a support 365 standard offering. You obviously have the option of subscribing to a support 365 premium also as a part of iVend cloud offering. I have another question here. A very pertinent question. With this solution, what is the role of the partner? Partner plays a very important role. Partner is my go-to-market engine. Okay, partner has always been and will always be very critical to the success of this company and the success of the software. Though the software is available on the cloud, the entire fulfillment model, go-to-market in terms of positioning, in terms of retailers, trying to convince them, selling the subscription licenses, all that would be done by the partner. This is not a direct model. This partners play a very, very critical role. They have played a very critical role in our growth, and they will continue doing so. It is basically how convenient we have made for the partners to take it to market. Enrique, give me a minute, I'll answer the question. Rogelio wants to know, in a cloud environment, will the user training mode still exist so the user can log in to iVend in the training mode without disturbing the production environment? Now, what we have done is that we have, as a part of the offering, we have allowed the retailer to set up a testing and a QA system. We would much rather have the retailer have a testing and a QA system, which could also double up as a training system, than to clutter the training mode in the application. Enrique wants to know, if a partner has some custom reports developed in the enterprise, will City Access support these partner-made custom report? A very pertinent question. The first part of this is how would custom reports be managed in the first place? What happens to custom reports? What happens to custom add-ons? How would they be managed? Nothing really changes. Nothing really changes. It just, in the way it was done previously, it'll be done exactly the same way now. You upload the report template using the file manager of the tenant onto your storage area. Everybody would be given an area. You upload it there, and you just get it incorporated. Now, the question is, would these be supported by City Access support or not? Well, as long as we are aware what the custom reports are and how are they functioning, yes. Other than that, it'll be the partner's responsibility to kind of ensure that we are aware of what the report actually does functionally and technically. But not only the custom reports, but also the custom add-ons, they remain exactly the same. You upload them to a particular place and incorporate and install the add-on the way you were doing earlier. Very good, guys. Keep going. Keep asking me questions. All right. Okay. So let's keep going. What I also wanted to talk about today, as far as this is concerned, are the different deployment options, and this is where it becomes it'll become slightly more clear. Okay. So broadly, there are two deployment options: everything on the cloud, and then a hybrid model. Okay, where the retailer gets to decide what kind of stores would be on premise and what kind of stores would be on the cloud. But let's say we talk about the entire environment is on the cloud. What that means is that you have an enterprise, you have the store also on the cloud. The point of sales would be configured as offline point of sales. These will be offline point of sale, which will continue doing transaction, and the entire application and the entire connection is managed through the iVend replication engine. I have a question here. Give me a minute. So Lady Daphne wants to know, if a customer pay only for software assurance, it's common that the support make you run some queries. Are the support guys going to do that? Sorry, I didn't really understand. Can you rephrase the question, Daphne? Let me open the lines. Let me open the line for Daphne so that she's able to ask the question. One moment. You'll just bear with me. Just sorry about that. Unmute Daphne. Yes, Daphne, go ahead. Can you please ask the question?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Manish. Well, I want to know if the customer only pay for software assurance. What will happen when you have an error and when you raise a ticket? It's common that support give you some queries or that you run some queries to try to manage the error or maybe get some information to know that what is happening. So if customer is not going to have access to their DB, support is going to do this kind of
Yes, certainly. So as I said, level 1, level 2, level 3 support is a part of iVend as a part of application maintenance and management. What is also available is a support 365 standard package, which ensures proper SLAs. So I don't think there would be any need for the customer to run a query on the database instance, because nobody knows where the database instance is. There is no, it's all on the cloud. So that way, the entire support would be handled by the support people who are well equipped to manage such challenges. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so thank you, Daphne. Anybody else who has any question before I move on? All right, so as I said, so the way it'll work is in the all on cloud environment, all the stores are deployed in the cloud, and all the point of sales, be it terminal or mobile, would be configured in the offline mode. Sale, offline point of sale communicates with the store and eventually to the enterprise using the new iVend replication engine. I have a question here. Give me a minute. Daphne, can you use the chat option to ask the question? Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going while Daphne types the question. So as I was saying, sorry for the interruption. As I was saying, the point of sales would be configured in the all in the offline mode. The stores are, if you go back to the olden iVend days, even in the on-premise world, this used to be called as the commingled store. So the stores are commingled along with the enterprise, and the point of sales, the terminal point of sales, communicate them on using the iVend replication. The same is true for mobile point of sale, which could be either within the store or could be outside the store, doesn't really matter. They will all communicate to the iVend cloud store over a 3G, 4G, or an LTE connection using iVend replication. So that's one kind of deployment. The other kind of deployment is where the retailer gets to decide as to what kind of stores would be on premise and some of the stores would be on cloud. So if you have a large format store, you may like to have a store server on premise. If you have a small format store, you may like to have your store on the cloud. It is all configurable. It's all up to the business requirement of the retailer as to how they want to do this. There is no restriction from an application standpoint as to how the application should be deployed. So you have both the options available. Then let's talk about what are the changes that we bring about in the application. So functionally, there are no changes. Application remains the same as you would have seen. There is absolutely no change in the application. You still have your pricing and promotions. You still have, for example, let's go to bonus buy. You still have your bonus buys. Okay, you still have your gift certificates. You still manage inventory the way you were managing. And if I were to show you a point of sale, an offline point of sale, give me a minute. I'm just connecting to that instance. Your screen is paused right now. So what you see on the screen now is an offline point of sale that I have configured. If you see it here on the top, it says offline point of sale. And also note the version number here. This is the new way we are going to version the applications and the different patches. So let's say I scan an item. It'll automatically, the promotions work the way they were working. So nothing really changes as such. I quick cash complete. I tender out using cash as a tender. It goes, the transaction gets completed. I have the option of, let me just try and show this to you. So I have the replication engine running here. Okay, a web-based replication engine. It says, this is the view from the store to the offline point of sale. It says this store has one offline point of sale and this store has received a transaction but not yet applied. This replication monitor refreshes every 30 seconds, and the moment it refreshes, this transaction will get automatically incorporated. As I said, nothing really has changed. You see, the transaction is now available on the enterprise. If I were to go and see the point of sale transaction register or business transaction here, I would be able to see the transaction. So the point I'm trying to make here is that nothing really has changed from an operation standpoint, from feature functionality, from a usability standpoint. Nothing really has changed. What has changed is the entire experience. The entire experience is very different. You have offline POSs, point of sales running. You could have stores on the cloud. You could have stores on the on-premise. The life is that much more convenient, and more so because of the included application and infrastructure management. I have a question here. Give me a minute. Just one second. I have Christian, which says, as I can see in this model, APIs won't be available in the server store just directly through iVend Cloud Server. If so, what happened to the internet goes down? Well, short answer, yes. The APIs are, you will, I think I showed you in the email that you would get initially. You will have an API endpoint available to you, and you would be able to consume that API. Now, what happens when the internet goes down? So let's try and define this. What happens when the internet goes down? If I go to the deployment model, because all my point of sales are configured in the offline mode, they are designed in a manner that even if this connectivity at this level, if this one were to break for whatever reasons, your store will still continue doing the transactions and system will maintain the referential integrity for you. So the internet, in all likelihood, normally speaking, goes down between your store network to the cloud, and the application is so designed that even if that were to happen for whatever reasons, the system will automatically maintain that referential integrity. So, and that is what as I showed you in the replication monitor, what will happen is it'll queue up those transactions till the time the internet is available, and the moment it is available, all the transactions will get automatically integrated. Okay, then I have another question from Enrique. If the customer has no access to SQL Server, but they need enterprise data for the data warehouse, how would you approach in this iVend Cloud? As I said, yes, you would not have access to any of the databases. The entire access to iVend would be available through the iVend APIs, the endpoint of which is given as a part of your license entitlement. Okay. Then Lady Daphne wants to know, will not be possible to I did not really understand the question. Let me open the lines for Daphne. I think he's offline. He's left. But I think what he's trying to ask is, let me just read it again. Will not be possible to work with well, okay, I'll possibly answer the question separately for Daphne, but for now, I was trying to explain what has there been any changes in the application. No, functionally nothing really has changed. It's just that the entire usage, the consumption of the application would be on the cloud. You will have offline point of sales which have their own replication engine. Offline point of sale will have its own SQL Express or SQL Standard, whichever you want to install, and that's how you will do the transaction. iVend Store is no longer a priced component, so you basically license the point of sales and the back office users, and that's how you would do it. All the back office users would access the iVend Cloud using a browser. If I go back to the application where I was, and let's say if I were to create a user, I go to authorizations, I go to security user, and I say new. My login ID is DAFNE, and electronic ID is 1234. Let's say security role, I specify the security role of Lady Daphne is that of an administrator. I pick up the user. Okay, I say a new user, Daphne. I say add a job code. She's a manager. Okay. I press OK. That's all right. She is an enterprise user. She's also a cloud user. And let's say her password is PASS at 123. That's all I need to do. I press OK. I need to confirm the password. Okay. I press all right. And Daphne as a user would be created. She would be able to, she would now be able to log into as a cloud user. And if I go and see my license entitlement, what will happen is I will have one less user mentioned than what I had seen earlier. So if you see, I have management console users there were 6 initially, now there are 5. So it's going to be as simple as that. Let me take another question here. Well, I think this was an older one. If you have any other questions, guys, please, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I'll be very happy to answer questions around application management, infrastructure, licensing, deployment, the overall experience, and all the good stuff. All right, in that case, if I don't have many questions, I will be closing the session right now. Yes, I have one more question, I guess. Yes, yes, the session is being recorded, and as I said, it'll be available later tonight or possibly tomorrow morning for everybody's benefit. It'll be available on the new service portal. You can go there under the recording section. It'll be available there. Enrique wants to know copies of PowerPoint. Yes. Enrique Martin also wants to know if L1, L2, L3 support will be managed by us. What will be the role of the partner in terms of support? The partner is the frontline support for us. Partner always be the frontline support for us. Partner is who is the custodian of the relationship. He would definitely be in touch with the customer and would be managing support for them. All right, in that case, if that is all we have, this and such sessions will be repeated, and I will be covering more on individual and specific topics. I will cover things like replication in more detail. I'll cover topics like offline point of sales in more detail. I will have separate sessions on how would the licensing really work in the new world. Okay, all these would be covered in my subsequent sessions. But for now, if I don't have any questions, I would like to close the session. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention, and thank you so very much for an overwhelming response. We almost broke GoToWebinar. Thank you guys, and we'll talk again very soon.